No one can outsmart me, for I am the cleverest magician in the world, aren't I? Yes! Oh, yes, I am!
I started at Nottingham Playhouse as, they called it the director. Nowadays it's called the artistic director. I was just director. And when I came for the interview, I'd worked at Oldham Coliseum, which is a much more down-market theatre. One of the things I said to them was, I want to do pantomime. And they were a bit taken aback, the board, and said, well, I don't know, the Theatre Royal does pantomime, they've done it for years. And I said, yes, but I do proper pantomimes, because there are good commercial pantomimes, don't get me wrong, but there are also some very bad ones. And they then said, well, who will be the stars? Can we afford 30 grand a week or whatever it is for a star? I said, no, I don't have stars. I have actors who can sing, dance and act. And they were very wary. And we opened, and we just about broke even that year because the Royal was well established. But that's how pantomime started here, because they'd never done panto here, and that was 25 years ago. The reason I love it so much is the anarchy. I mean, anything can happen in a pantomime, particularly if you're playing Dame. I mean, that's why I play Dame, make no bones about it. You can branch off, you don't have to stick to the script. I mean, if you're doing Hamlet or King Lear or whatever, you can't suddenly ad-lib if something happens. In pantomime you can do what you like. As long as the audience understand it and see why it's happened. And some of the best gags come out of audience reactions, kids shouting out at the wrong time, or even grown-ups sometimes. And that's what I love about it. The very first panto I did here, which was Jack and the Beanstalk, and I'm not usually very nervous at pantomime. I was petrified that year until I got on, and once I got on and it was going, it was fine. And the end of the act was the magical moment of the growing of the beanstalk, and then we all came on and discovered the beanstalk. And on the very first night, the beanstalk got about halfway up, because it was only a prop on a bit of wire, and snapped. We carried on with the scene as if it was there, and then halfway through, I suddenly thought, oh no, at the end of the number, at the end of the act, we all sang a big number, and Jack climbed the beanstalk. And you can't stop in the middle of the number. And we started singing it, and all the time I'm thinking, what's she going to do? What's she going to do? And she went round behind this little fence, picked it up, threw it over her shoulder, and climbed up a hidden ladder. And everybody afterwards said, was it planned? And it wasn't. And then they all said, oh, do it again, keep it in. But it would never have worked, because we were genuinely terrified. Most commercial pantomimes, I was talking to a friend yesterday who's doing one, have a week's rehearsal and a couple of days in the theatre. We have 3 weeks outside the theatre, and during those 3 weeks, various times we pop over to have the costumes for the final fitting, and during the 3 weeks we are rehearsing the dialogue, we're rehearsing the singing, we're rehearsing the dancing, and then the 4th week we go into the theatre for what for me is very exciting, the technical, when we see the sets, we see everybody in costumes, and we have a 2-day technical rehearsal, because it's a massive show. There's a, it looks, well, hopefully it looks slick, but there's an awful lot going on behind that front cloth when you're doing a comedy scene, they're changing a set. And then we have 2 dress rehearsals, and then 2 previews, and then we open. And everything on that stage, the costumes, the sets, the props, the wigs, are all made within the building. And they're all brand new every single year. I did the pantomime some years ago, when I really got worried, and I said, I'm not going to put all those old gags in, like he's behind you, and you're next to an idiot, how do you do? I thought, they've seen them for years. I'm taking them all out. And I got about 20 letters of complaint. And I actually rang some of them up and said, but you know the jokes. I mean, one particular one, that I don't think is very funny. When I have the kids up on stage, I always find one and say, who have you come with? Your mum. And I say, oh, I like your hair, mum. Did you come on a motorbike? I don't think it's very funny. And that was the one everybody missed. They said, you didn't do the motorbike. I said, but you know it. And they said, I know, but It's familiarity, and I think that is the key. It's like coming somewhere and meeting a lot of old friends. They know they know what's coming. Sometimes they laugh before you've said the punchline, but of course the kids don't. There you are. That's it. People do ask me what's the secret of your panto, and I don't honestly know. They vary over the years. I mean, this is probably about the 5th or 6th Aladdin I've done. And they change, but not much, because if it ain't broke, don't mend it. I don't know. I think just being honest with the kids and making it look good, but I don't know really what the key ingredient is. My son, a lot of my family have worked for me. It's called nepotism. Last year, he does the lighting design, and he comes at the end of the 3rd week of rehearsal and sees it all, and then we discuss what lighting he's going to do. And I knew last year that he wasn't all that keen, that he thought, oh, I don't know. And then he rang my wife up after the first night and said, well, I don't know how, but he's got away with it again. And that sort of really sums it up as far as I'm concerned.
Okie dokie, down you come.
Right, well, that's... What are you doing?
Break dancing.
Oh!